Trump's rise coincides with De Niro's decline, and the person who knows it most is De Niro. He's a fine example of how not to turn loss into bitterness. There are plenty of people who don't like Trump, but don't let it warp their minds or their ability to speak aloud among grown-ups or The View. But the Schiffs and De Niros of the world are emotionally damaged by politics to a point where they can't even assess their own emotions. Being an actor is tough, for how does one handle real life without a script? Not equipped to think analytically, you're left powerless when observing your own predictions about life turn out wrong. It's not supposed to be this way, De Niro thinks. Only the cool guys get to win. Sorry, Bob. That's only in the movies, but at least you'll always have joy.
Once hailed as a cinematic titan, Robert De Niro now fumbles through political rants like a retiree lost in a Twitter war. Then Greg Gutfeld stepped in, armed with sarcasm, wit, and a sledgehammer of truth. What followed wasn't a roast, it was a high-speed collision between De Niro's outdated outrage and Gutfeld's relentless reality check. With each jab, Gutfeld stripped away the tough guy act, revealing a cranky icon out of sync with the times. This wasn't acting, it was unraveling. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more sharp takes that cut through the noise.
Robert De Niro graced the knitting circle in hell known as The View, where he tried to link random thoughts into a sentence. Joy was there to wind him up, since he's played some of the most unredeemable characters.
You have played some of the most really unredeemable characters. Travis Bickle. Travis Bickle was a psychopathic taxi driver. Jake LaMotta, who used to beat his wife, and he was in The Raging Bull. Is Trump worse than they are?
To me, he is. He has no understanding that I can see of the outside world.
Robert De Niro. Once the towering force of cinematic brilliance, he has now cemented his place as Hollywood's most consistent supplier of unsolicited tantrums. The man who once whispered menace in mob films, now he bellows like a foghorn in a political hurricane, unprompted, unfiltered, and entirely unaware. And just when it seemed he couldn't descend any further into self-parody, Greg Gutfeld casually strolls in and begins dismantling what's left of De Niro's legacy, brick by brick, scene by scene, meltdown by meltdown. If you want more no-nonsense takes like this, make sure to hit like and subscribe. You won't want to miss what's next.
De Niro kind of represents Hollywood in the sense that they realize that they're losing influence with the public, and that's what's generating the emotional response. They've never felt less important.
It just, doesn't it feel like 2016 again? Like, we lived through that. Did they forget?
Yeah.
It also feels like they forgot that. And remember, just this week we had Kamala Harris dropping the F-bomb at a group.
No red carpet, no dramatic entrance, just Gutfeld with a raised eyebrow and a smirk, tossing verbal grenades at a man who somehow made yelling into a personality. The roast begins not with fire, but with clinical precision, like a surgeon diagnosing a swollen ego with terminal delusion. If you're loving this sharp takedown, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more moments like this. Let's keep the conversation going.
Robert De Niro's 29-year-old child, Aaron, has come out as transgender. When the press asked her for comment, she said, "You talking to they, them?" Thank you. Last night, an elderly, confused man went missing in New York. Luckily, a band of self-satisfied elitists found him babbling on the street, threw some pants on him, gave him a stage.
And it's not even hard because De Niro has made it so easy. He's become a caricature of himself, a grumpy cinematic monument. Refusing to retire, wheezing through every press conference like he's auditioning for the role of angriest man alive in a sequel no one greenlit. The same man who once delivered performances that rattled souls now delivers tirades that rattle coffee cups. If you're enjoying this deep dive, be sure to like the video and subscribe. More sharp insights are just a click away.
You really worry that if he were to win again, and I'm not saying this like it's such a far-fetched notion, if he were to win again, that he would not give up power?
You know he won't. You know he won't. He even said it. He's never going to give it up. And anybody who deludes themselves in thinking that he is.
Greg doesn't need to fabricate, he just needs to observe. De Niro gave up subtlety like a bad habit, where once there were layers, complexity, mystery, now there's just volume, loud, directionless, finger-wagging volume that tries to fill the silence left behind by talent that packed its bags sometime around Dirty Grandpa. If you want more honest takes and sharp observations, hit that like button and subscribe. You won't regret it.
Trump.
Talk about persuasive. Really, I was on the fence about Trump, but then I decided to really listen to one of the great generational leaders of American pop culture. And the clenched fists at the end, that really drove it home. It looked like he was pressing a 2-pound weight in a Jenny Craig commercial.
Oh my God.
Look at it again. It's so cute. It's like he found out the restaurant serves Jell-O, or that he won a $10 scratch off.
And no, that wasn't satire. That was the title. Real film, real performance, real sad. The man who once brought Travis Bickle and Jake LaMotta to life somehow decided that being a sleazy, shirtless geriatric goofball in a movie made entirely of rejected SNL skits was a natural next step in his journey. Gutfeld doesn't even have to exaggerate. The material is self-roasting. De Niro's film choices in the last decade read like a desperate gamble to stay visible in a world that already wrote him off. A resume that once boasted prestige, now doubling as a tutorial on how to nuke your legacy with slapstick and scowls. But it's not just the movies, it's the man himself. The new De Niro is what happens when a once celebrated icon believes Twitter is a political strategy and rage is a virtue. He appears on TV panels and award shows like a man who thinks yelling louder makes your point stronger. His idea of communication is volume cranked to 11 and logic thrown into a wood chipper. Greg doesn't attack the art, he mourns the loss of it. Just De Niro stomping around like King Lear in a bathrobe, convinced the world still waits for his cue. And Gutfeld doesn't need to punch down, he just watches De Niro trip over his own ego and politely points out that the Emperor not only has no clothes, he's also yelling at the tailor. If you're loving this no-holds-barred breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe for more takes that get right to the point. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's next.
And the star of Dirty Grandpa, Robert De Niro, getting censored by The View after raging like a bull who saw a red MAGA hat.
And they might think that it's going to make their life better, or they just want to, excuse my French, literally, it's almost like he wants to do the worst that he could possibly do to show this country.
It's hard to say what's more painful, watching De Niro rage against the machine or watching the machine politely clap back pretending this is normal. Every political outburst he hurls lands like a failed audition. Passionate? Yes. Coherent? Not even close. He delivers each line with the urgency of a man rescuing puppies from a fire, except the fire's imaginary and the puppies are just his own opinions. Barking back, Greg doesn't even have to mock the content. The presentation is hilarious enough. De Niro's fury comes with hand choreography, neck vein choreography, and that signature glare that once meant business but now resembles a malfunctioning Halloween animatronic. But now, silence terrifies him. So he fills it with noise. Accusations, speeches, declarations. He treats the spotlight like a confessional, but with no remorse and all the self-awareness of a lamb. If you want more sharp insights like this, go ahead and like the video and hit subscribe so you never miss the next breakdown.
Understanding that I can see of the outside world other than anything around him. He has no idea of what his purpose in life is, as the president should be, and that is to pull the country together, to be for the people, to heal wounds, not to open them up and pour salt on them.
De Niro clearly has thought about this, more so than his career. His choice of roles is now down to cinnamon and lobster. He was then asked about the Trump kids. At least he doesn't want my kids to take this the wrong way.
Gutfeld doesn't roast De Niro because he's De Niro. He roasts him because De Niro won't stop pretending he's still delivering Oscar-worthy monologues when in reality, he's just one bad metaphor away from joining the cast of a daytime soap opera called As the Ego Turns. And it's not like people are hanging on every word anymore. Most are just hanging in there, watching, wincing, waiting for the next explosion of misplaced passion. De Niro enters interviews like a human hurricane warning, the kind of presence that makes producers pray for technical difficulties. Even his fans don't know what to do with them. They used to quote his movie. Now they quote his interviews, not because they're profound, but because they sound like Mad Libs composed during a road rage incident. His sentences are maps to nowhere, detours in a monologue, a maze built entirely out of bitterness and cable news talking points. Greg doesn't need to insult the man, he just holds up the mirror, and in that mirror is a former Titan now reduced to echoing his own frustration like a boomerang of belligerence. What was once gravitas is now just gravity, pulling everything down around him, and still he marches on. He takes every platform like it's his final stage, angry elder statesman of Hollywood, a role he wrote for himself, cast himself in, and insists on performing everywhere, even at brunch. It's not a movie anymore, it's a reality show. If you enjoyed this take, don't just watch. Like the video and subscribe now. Let's keep the conversation alive.
And they don't like most of the Trump voters because they are Americans. And De Niro, how stupid is he without a script? Isn't that amazing? I used to think, wow, that guy's brilliant. But once you take the words away from him, he is so stupid. That thing when he goes, impeachment will make America great again, and everybody's, how intellectually deprived he is. He's a coke-addled simpleton.
And Greg, ever the observer, doesn't just highlight the absurdity, he celebrates it.
And Greg, ever the observer, doesn't just highlight the absurdity, he celebrates it. Not because it's admirable, but because it's entertaining in the way a slow-motion train wreck is entertaining. Horrifying, inevitable, and impossible to look away from. Even De Niro's expressions are stuck in rerun mode. That iconic squint used to mean, I'm thinking. Now it just means, I forgot where I put my point. The head tilt, once a master stroke of menace, is now just muscle memory triggered by caffeine and confusion. The saddest part? He could have walked away. He could have become a legend untouched by the circus. But instead, he bought a season pass, climbed into the clown car and started honking, like his relevance depended on it. And to be fair, maybe it does, because without the noise, without the headlines, what's left? Greg doesn't ask out of cruelty, he asks because the fall is fascinating. De Niro's descent isn't just a cautionary tale, it's a masterclass in what happens when talent refuses to evolve and instead decides to shout at evolution to slow down. He's not a victim of the times, he's a volunteer. If you want to see more takes that cut through the noise, hit like and subscribe. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next.
De Niro thinks only the cool guys get to win. Sorry, Bob. That's only in the movies, but at least you'll always have joy. You know, when dislike is so emotional, Katie, I always think it means something else. Like he's actually thought about this. Like, he's like, it's in his head. And I can't help but think it's because they're of similar age and they're both New Yorkers.
And in the end, he'll probably get another award, another standing ovation, not for his recent work, but for the ghosts of the man who once made cinema shiver. And he'll take the stage trembling with rage, squinting at the audience, delivering another speech no one understands, and everyone pretends to love. But the truth is that Greg Gutfeld already said what everyone else is thinking. The legend is over. The roast is real, and Robert De Niro is now playing his most convincing role yet, the angry man who mistook volume for virtue. And this show, it's far from over. Still riding the wave of shredded reputations and cinematic ego meltdowns. Greg Gutfeld wasn't finished with Robert De Niro yet, because with a figure so soaked in self-importance, how could he be? De Niro didn't just stumble into the roast, he built a red carpet for it, threw on a tuxedo of delusion, and asked to be lit up like it was awards night. If you want more of these no-holds-barred takes, smash that like button and subscribe. Let's keep watching the story unfold together.
I should take this the wrong way, but if my kids did what these kids did, I wouldn't want to be related to them. I would disown them.
Whoa, this is sad. Here you have someone pretending to be a tough guy turn out to be just a second banana for Joy Behar, the poster child for Trump derangement. Sadly, Bob is now just another gibbering, enfeebled ninny, surrounded by inept relatives as he frets about how Trump's in power and he's...
Greg kept hammering like the Oscars were handing out golden trophies for self-sabotage. The man, once revered for his roles in mafia classics, now looked like he was auditioning for a biopic titled The Decline of Common Sense. A towering figure who once dominated the screen now spends his days posturing like a Hollywood oracle, with the wisdom of a cranky grandpa and the depth of a soggy napkin. And what was that recent press tour? Spectacle. De Niro stumbling through statements like he was reading fortune cookies through bifocals dipped in Chardonnay. Gutfeld practically danced on the opportunity. Here's a guy who played Vito Corleone's heir, but can't navigate a 5-minute interview without sounding like he mistook a podcast mic for a therapy couch. He doesn't answer questions, he monologues at them like he's performing Hamlet in a parking lot. Gutfeld didn't let up because De Niro has become an accidental performance artist, rebranding his legendary scowl into a full-time personality. He shows up to galas looking like someone just told him his last 10 movies went straight to airplane screens. And the only thing more tragic than the roles he accepts now is the fact he still acts like he's auditioning for sainthood every time he opens his mouth. If you want more unapologetic takes like this, go ahead and like the video and hit subscribe. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's next.
You know, Richard, when the other team, let's say your team, grabs clips of, say, from The Five or Sean Hannity or Jesse's show, they could say we're wrong, but they can't say they're acting crazy, like we have fun. But why is it on the other side, let's say the MSNBC, the CNN, the View side, when they actually appear like they have psychological issues, that this stuff is so ingrained, this Trump derangement, that they are mentally ill? That's De Niro clearly is having problems. His therapist is getting paid a lot.
But the real cherry on top? De Niro's bizarre crusade against everything that breathes differently than him. He's got this weird fixation on playing societal gatekeeper like he's the guardian of decency, while being an honorary member of the out-of-touch elite. Gutfeld carved into that hypocrisy. It owed him rent. The man who made a living playing street-smart, tough guys now lives in a penthouse of pretension, peering down at the rest of the country. He's analyzing them for a documentary called Why I'm Better. Gutfeld didn't need to create punchlines. De Niro served them like hors d'oeuvres at a retirement gala for relevance. He's the guy who stares into a mirror practicing tough guy lines from 1976 while wearing a robe that costs more than most cars. The marble's cracking, the pigeons are roosting, and the tourists aren't showing up anymore. But their De Niro stands convinced he's still the center of a cinematic universe. No one's orbiting. And as Gutfeld kept striking match after match on the brittle remains of that ego, it was clear this roast wasn't ending anytime soon. If you're here for the real talk and razor-sharp commentary, hit like and subscribe. There's plenty more where this came from.